Hey guys, Brian with Cajun Cardboard coming at you from the great state of Louisiana, and I've got Andrew Goldberg from the pretty good state of Florida. You're watching this on the Luca Nation Network. You're getting the best of both networks. Cage is somewhere in the middle, but you've got the best of the best here today. We had some good feedback, Andrew, from the first video that we did talking about just randomly just like regurgitating 10 NBA topics. So we figured, hell, let's run it back, right? Let's do it again. What are you drinking and why is it so creepy looking? What?
Iced coffee. Iced coffee.
Why is it
What's up,
green?
Luca Nation? Yeah, you guys love the 10 takes from the first 10 days of the NBA, and we're like, let's bring it back. Brian and I, we obviously talk cards, hobby, markets, all that stuff, but like the thing we love probably the most that brings us a lot of joy is just basketball, watching the games, talking sports. So we love doing these, and you guys love them too. So maybe you could listen to this and be like, I'm going to prospect this guy in a year, or hey, I'm going to view these games with this eye, or maybe you're just tuning in for the banter and the disagreement.
Yeah, and we should make a disclaimer. This is not going to be a card-specific video. So if you're watching and all you care about is basketball cards, turn it off. But I think that to have a full grasp on, prospecting ultramodern, history of the NBA, understanding the ins and outs, contract situations, hot, cold, you've got to know all this stuff to truly master your craft. And if your craft is collecting cards, buying low and selling high, or even if you're deciding who to PC, I think an overarching knowledge generally of not only the history of basketball, but the current state of affairs in the NBA is absolutely crucial and mandatory. So, this may be 10% card talk and 90% what's going on right now in the NBA. So we'll just throw that disclaimer out there and we'll get cranking. I've got 5 topics. I've got 6 topics. You want to alternate topics? Do you have anything written down, or you want me to just start rocking?
I want to start with one, and then you'll run with all of yours, okay? Because I think this one does dovetail on a few interesting things. Like, Cage has talked about parity in football. We're seeing so much parity in basketball, and we've said this last week. This is the most talented this league's ever been. And then I've never seen the league schedule so many games in the first few weeks of the season. So you're seeing the Warriors go to Miami and then play Orlando and, play the Cleveland. Just ran out of steam versus the Clippers last night because they're playing like 4 games in 6 nights. What's so interesting about this NBA? I have a stat for you. Okay. So the 2015 Sixers. Do you want to take a guess? That was the worst team, obviously, ever. What their highest scoring point total was? Like their player who scored the most points in a game on average.
Highest points per game for a player on the 2015 Sixers team.
Yep.
Good Lord. Who was that? Dario Saric or something? No, he was next year.
Jahlil Okafor with 17 points a game. No. Second was Ish Smith with 14. And then the other 3 starters were Covington, Noel, and Isaiah Canaan with 12, 11.
Well, that was the epitome of the process, right? That was the rock bottom.
Why I say that is I picked the 2 worst teams by record. It's still so early. We don't know who the worst teams are, but the Magic have 5 guys averaging more than all of those guys. 5 guys on their team. You have Banchero, 23.5 points. Franz, 18. Wendell Carter, 16. Suggs, 13. And Cole Anthony, 15.5. And then if we go to the Rockets, same thing. Jalen Green, 21 points a game. Kevin Porter Jr., 19.5. Seguin, 17.1. My point is, you have so much talent in this league just compared to 5-6 years ago. We see these stats on Instagram and we freak out, but everybody's doing it. The worst of the worst have guys that are averaging 15 to 25 points a game and multiple guys on their team. It's just the state of the league. It's how talented this league has become.
Well, it's different. Yeah. I mean, if you'd have looked at legitimate potential top 10 players in the world one day, right? You might have 20 guys in that conversation. Hey, this guy could be one of the 10 best players in the world one day. Now you got 40. I mean, there's 30 NBA teams. There's at least 2 guys on every NBA team. And I'm talking about young up-and-coming guys, in addition to the guys that are already top 10 guys, like a Steph, like maybe a LeBron, guys that are older, right? Yep. There's a lot of darts to throw, right? Or I should say there's a lot of names on the dart, that you're throwing at. And it's just different, man. It's a humongous talent pool. I wonder why. Is it because kids are actually getting coached and developing and they're significantly more skilled now than they were 20 years ago? I think that's the answer. I think there's less emphasis on AAU basketball and playing and more individualized, specific, paid for target training of players at an earlier age. I think our kids are finally being groomed and becoming more skilled in America at an earlier age, like they do at academies in Europe, right? We've always talked about, well, the European guys are so much more skilled. Now Americans are coming out the gate skilled. They're coming out the NBA womb skilled, right? At age 18 and 19 and ready to rock and roll. You watch Banchero, yeah, he's a bully. Yeah, he's a monster. But the guy's like polished. Like he's sharp. He handled for us, what is he, 6'10", 250? He handles the hell out of the ball. He shoots the ball, the same can be said, obviously, for Cade Cunningham last year. Scotty Barnes can't shoot, but he's skilled as hell, handles the ball at 6'9" with a 18-foot wingspan. I just think we're seeing guys ready to be a serious problem in the NBA at a much earlier age than they used to be. And, Magic and Bird were the anomaly. It was like a freak show, right? What are these guys? These guys are the alpha on their NBA team day one. That just didn't happen as often, I think, as it does now.
It makes for amazing viewing basketball, but I think it hurts prospecting because of opportunity cost.
You mean it hurts prospectors who get it wrong?
They're also good, which is the one.
Yeah. No, there's the one. Yeah, that's right. You might have been choosing from 8 guys, 15 years ago. Now you're choosing from 38, And look, and this is one of my topics. Bull was a joke. Like, that was a joke in the hobby. Like, he was literally the butt of jokes. That dude can play, man. Look, let me tell you, I'm going to win my fantasy league because I picked him up. I'm calling my shot right now. He's fantastic from a fantasy basketball standpoint. Will he ever be the best player on an NBA team? No. But that dude's not a joke. That guy's a problem. I mean, he causes problems on the floor. He's a very unique basketball player. And people make fun of him. And again, I'm not saying his cards are properly priced because I think they're still silly priced. They're still high. But that guy's going to be an NBA player for a good long while, as long as his legs don't break in half or somebody snaps one of his arms off because he needs to eat a sandwich.
2 questions. Why do you think he needed to get to Orlando to play? And what's his game like? I don't think a lot of people out there have even watched Bull play, let alone the Orlando Magic.
Man, that's a good question. Well, one thing, he doesn't force anything. He's really thin. And so you would think, he's 7'1". He would just go get in the post and destroy people because he plays wing. He plays the wing, man. He's playing the 3. So you think, he's got 6'6", 6'7" guys guarding him. He's just going to go sit on him in the post, mouse in the house. Like I would do with you if we ever played. I would just take you in the post and put you in the blender. But like, he doesn't do that. I mean, he plays a true wing position. He shoots it okay from 3. You can't contest it. He's 7'1" with a high release. He's intelligent. He handles it enough for a 7-footer. I hate to do comparisons because he literally, Andrew, the guy might weigh 200 pounds. He's like 7 foot, 200 pounds. So you can't really compare him to anybody. I mean, you compare him to Chet Holmgren, but he moves a little differently. Obviously, a little bit better shot blocker. But Bull's hands are in every passing lane. Like, he's the ultimate 3-and-D guy, and he has got a little bit of handle too. I watched him last night. I love watching league pass. If the Rockets and the Magic are on, I'm watching that over Golden State and the Nets. That's how big of a problem I have. I like watching young guys develop.
I'll tell you guys. So 22 minutes a game. He started about 6 games as a Bull, averaging 11.5 points a game, 7 rebounds, shooting 67% from the field and 36% from 3. Here's where it gets interesting. 87% from the free throw line, 2 blocks a game. Good for him, man. Good for him. Journeyman. Found this spot. This is an interesting Magic team. They cause problems across the board.
Yeah, I think they're going to be terrible for a while. I know people were like, don't sleep on the Magic. No, you can go back to sleep. They're not going to be any good this year. They're not.
They could be competitive with a bad record.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to beat some teams on some given nights, but they're not going to win half their games. I mean, if anybody thinks they're going to win half their games, they're wrong. There's a lot of teams like that where, you can take them for granted now, but you don't want to see these teams in 2 or 3 years after these guys have developed chemistry. The other team that comes to mind is the Rockets. You're not going to want to see that team in 2 or 3 years. That's going to be a problem The Rockets are going to be a problem. The Magic are going to be a problem. But that's the way the NBA is, right? It goes through cycles. Very rarely do we get a San Antonio Spurs where, you know, they make the playoffs 40 years in a row or whatever the hell they did. You know, Duncan made it every year of his career. Like, that's unique. And so these franchises, unless you're, you know, at the Lakers or somebody like that, where you can just buy whoever you want and they want to come there, the Heat, you know, these franchises like Orlando's not a free agent destination. Houston's not really. You know, they got to go through cycles. You know, you got to be up, you got to be down. You got to do a little mini process. I don't recommend the Philadelphia process. No offense.
They missed out on so many picks in the Philadelphia
process.
Oh,
it was horrific. It was an absolute abject disaster. And it was partly because they just kept choosing the wrong guy. They chose the wrong player. And they got it right with Embiid. You know, they got it. Here's the thing. They got it right with Drew Holiday. And where is he? You know?
The biggest miss for me was Fultz over Jason Tatum. That was so obvious.
You mean Fultz over Jason Tatum or Donovan Mitchell or De'Aaron Fox or Alonzo? I mean, go down the list. That was a pretty good draft class, dude.
Tatum was so NBA ready, even at Duke. Like, you could see the guy had those fundamentals that you were talking about in the beginning going through AAU. Like, he wasn't a raw talent. Like Markelle Fultz was like this raw talent out of like Washington. I don't know.
Yeah. Okafor was a huge miss.
Who? I'll look into it.
Well, enough on the process. Let's get some more points. Let's get some more points. We don't want to talk about Philly. I mean, you're going to feel terrible after we talk about it. How many years they've wasted, and they're done this year. I mean, if Harden's out for a month, I mean, I shouldn't say that.
That's the best thing that could have ever happened to them.
Why? Maxey development.
You can't win with a Harden style type of game. Unless Harden is in his absolute prime and you surround him with just the perfect surrounding cast, it's not a winning formula. You got to play team ball. You got to run sets. You got to run plays, because it might work in the regular season as it did with that Rockets team, but then in the playoffs, defenses just cue in. It's not a sustainable winning strategy.
It hasn't been yet, but do you watch the Dallas Mavericks?
Yeah, Luka's incredible.
I mean, his game is identical to Harden's. Now, look,
Harden never got into the post.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, Luka can go sit on people and he destroys them in there, and he passes and picks people off from there. And I'm not comparing Luka's now to Harden now or Luka now to Harden then, but as far as ball dominance, and we're going to get to that.
Yep.
Luka's got the ball in his hands more than any player in the NBA, including Harden, in my opinion. Right. And it's basically, give me the ball. I'll either get a shot or I'll get a free throw. I'll get a pair of free throws, or I'll get somebody on my team, one of these, statues that stands on the wing and claps. I'll get them an open three-pointer. And so in that way, he's a lot like Harden. The way they play. Again, I'm not comparing the two players.
Drop it in the comments. Here's the question, Luka Nation. And Brian, go give your take on this. Luka, right now, today, November 8th, 10:18 a.m. Is he better, worse, or the same as Harden during his MVP season? To me, this is easy. Like, so easy, it's not even funny.
People are going to have a lot of recency bias when they answer this question. They're going to forget what Harden did. It was one of the best offensive seasons of all time, including, Wilt, and including, triple-double seasons from Robertson, and including Jordan's 37 points per game. I mean, dude, that season, Harden was really freaking good. Now, and remember, there's two sides of the ball, and Luka's not a great defender, but I think Luka is probably a better defender than Harden, although Harden does a pretty good job in the post.
So I got a lot of fanboys, but I got a lot of slack for saying, do you watch the games, bro?
Yeah.
When I say do you watch the games, bro, I actually mean not now. But if you watch those games back then, you know why Harden had an amazing offensive season. In the history books, you look back, you're like, wow, Harden had an amazing season. You start stat comparing. We love the whole stat compare.
Yeah.
You compare stat from then and you compare it to a player now, and you're like, oh, look, he's better then than, and you do all that stuff. Why did they establish the Harden rule? That season, he was going to the free throw line so many times. You take those points off, he's a wildly inefficient player. He's always been a wildly inefficient player. He just goes to the free throw line. The NBA established the rule where you can't give out these dumb, like, little ticky-tacky fouls that he was
sweep throughs and diving into people when they're exposed and they're vertical. Yep. Natural shot. It needs to be a natural shot. Yeah, there's a lot of –
Luka is significantly better than Harden, in my opinion. Significant. Like, head and shoulders above. It's a star to a superstar comparison.
He's also 23. He's still a baby.
He's still
23. He's 23 years old, man. That's insane to think about. He's 23 years old, and his game is not, the foundation of his game is not elite athleticism, which means he's going to age incredibly well in this league. He's going to age incredibly well, barring some unforeseen injury. There's no doubt in my mind, 29-year-old Luka Doncic is going to be better than 23-year-old Luka Doncic, and that's scary as hell.
I would say maybe this isn't talked about enough, but his passing is superior. Like one of the best passers I've seen. One-handed passers, and how he's able to make passes to just about any spot on the court when he's driving in.
Genius level, yeah. LeBron's the closest thing. Passing from that big guard position. You can call them forwards if you want, but they're both point guards. Passing from the big guard position, making every single pass you need to make, left hand, right hand, two-hand, pass out of the post, all those things. LeBron, obviously is, I think, one of the probably 10 greatest passers of all time. Doncic is well on his way there. It's just a matter of sample size. He just needs to do it longer. So
it's not to disrespect Harden. Harden was amazing. I just think that Luka is Harden with 2 or 3 improvements to Harden's game, and those improvements put him head and shoulders above. That's my opinion on it.
I'm with you. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with that. Guess who the number 1 fantasy basketball player is right now in a true 8 categories?
Yeah, it's got to be SGA. He's just stat padding for days.
Just slightly over Steph after last night. Steph went bananas last night. Huge game, right? That game mattered in a lot of ways. But SGA is the number 1 fantasy player. He's been the number 1 fantasy player for like the last week and a half. I think that's news, right? Like I've got some of his stuff pulled up, and here's what's interesting about SGA. There's 8 categories in your typical, rotisserie fantasy league, right? There's 8 categories. 3-pointers is one of those categories. That category matters just as much as points or rebounds or assists, right? As the casual observer, when you watch games, you're like, how many points, rebounds, and assists did he have? Well, in fantasy basketball, blocks, free throw percentage, and steals mean just as much as points, rebounds, and assists. They're all weighted evenly. It's 8 categories. They're all worth 1/8 of your fantasy value. SGA hasn't made a 3 in 5 consecutive games. That was my big. He's number 1, and he's only given you 7 categories. How interesting is that? Let me tell you what's happened. So the first 5 games of the season, SGA was really freaking good. He was fantastic. And he was taking a good chunk of threes. And he made 2, 1, 2, and 2 in his first 4 games, right? But he was shooting a poor percentage, and we know he didn't shoot it at all last year. Well, in the last 5 games, he said, you know what? The hell with it. I'm going to put my shoulder into your teeth, and I'm going to get you to the rim. You're going to foul me, or I'm going to finish, or I'm going to shoot a floater, or I'm going to kick out and do my thing. No 3-pointers made over the last 5 games. No 3-pointers made. He has scored 38, 34, 37, 18, and 33, and he has shot from the field. Get this. And this is on 27, 18, 17, 16, and 23 shots. So he's not bashful. He's taking 20 shots a game. He's shot 56%, 67%, 77%, 44%, and 57%, and shot 100%, 91%, 100%, 80%, and 100% from the free throw line. How efficient is that? He's finally bucking this trend where you got to shoot threes. You got to shoot threes. He's saying, not only am I not going to shoot threes, I'm going to be the best fantasy player out there.
Addition by subtraction.
Yeah,
he was shooting 5.5 threes a game last year. Cut that in half, and his field goal percentage this year is 58%
from the guard position. That's absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Yep, that was my first take. He's dominating fantasy basketball and just ignoring a category. Now it helps that he's blocked 13 shots in 9 games for a guard. I don't know if he's gonna, I don't know if he's gonna average 1.3 blocks a game in modern NBA. That's pretty hard to do, but he is a very good guard, a very good defensive guard.
Who's your comp for SGA? Like who's someone?
Halliburton. We just did a video reel. Halliburton is my comp, but I was corrected, and I will take full blame. Halliburton's shot is so disgusting. I just assumed he was shooting like 32, 33% from 3. The dude's like a 40% career 3-point shooter. So that was foot and mouth for Cajun Cardboard. But that's kind of my comp. Guards with prototype positional size at their position, right? SGA's 6'6". Halliburton's got to be like 6'5" with great reach, both of them. Both of them are very good defensive players. SGA can only score from 2 levels. Halliburton, I haven't really seen him score from the mid-range as much, but obviously he can shoot threes. He makes his threes now, I know. Thank you for the education and the feedback. And we know he makes his teammates better. So I think that's my comp right now. For SGA, I don't know. I'm trying to think of somebody who really couldn't shoot threes, but always got to the rim. I mean, Dwayne Wade was that way. Dwayne Wade wasn't a point guard by any stretch, and their body type's very different. But Dwayne Wade was an elite NBA player, one of the 5 best shooting guards of all time, and he never really shot threes.
What about Penny? You don't see a lot of 6'6", 6'7" point guards.
Yeah, Penny was 6'9". Penny.
How often do you see that?
No, I mean, not very often. I don't know. I'm trying to think of 6'9" point guards in the NBA. The only one that I could think of off the top of my head is Ben Simmons, and he's no longer a point guard because I've watched him play every game this season. He's not playing point guard. I don't know, Andrew. Yeah, you don't see very many 6'9"
next year.
Huh?
You think Simmons is going to be in the NBA in 2 years?
Yeah, I mean, he's my biggest miss of this season. I thought we were going to see the Ben Simmons revenge tour where his brain was going to click and he was going to be like, you know what, finally, F you. I don't care about shooting. I'm going to go out and lock everybody up. I'm going to get 10 rebounds a game. I'm going to, run, I'm going to increase the pace and get 8 assists a game. He's been an abject, absolute, complete disaster who looks like he has no interest whatsoever in playing basketball. I wouldn't be surprised if he just disappeared by his own volition. I don't think anybody's ever going to say Ben get lost because the talent's there because he's an all-NBA player. We saw it before. But I can see him stepping away from the game to go read a book, or go play a video game or go prune the hedges or some weird shit like Kyrie's going to do. By the way, that should have been on our topic list. Is Kyrie going to be Steph Marbury 2.0? Is he going to get blackballed by the NBA? Is he going to be sent packing?
I don't remember what happened with Steph Marbury.
Steph Marbury was an absolute phenom, phenomenal All-NBA, All-Star in his prime, and he was just a little delusional. He was a very, very strange guy, had a temper issue, was a volatile teammate, difficult to get along with. His teammates didn't really dig him. And then he basically hit rock bottom, whether it was, I think there was some drug and alcohol stuff involved, and maybe even some mental health issues with Steph Marbury. But he's a beautiful reclamation story because, he went over to China and found himself and became from what I can see, a great human being. He fell in love. The people embraced him, and I don't think he'd ever felt like that unconditional type love. And he's from what I've seen, became a great human being. There's a great documentary out there about Steph Marbury that everybody should go watch. I do not remember the name of it, but it is free because I don't pay for documentaries or TV. But it's like on Netflix or something like that. And Steph Marbury disappeared, dude. He disappeared. And then went over to China and became a legend. They have statues of him over there. Statues.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and he's a happy person now,
So do I think Kyrie will follow that path? No. That's a Disney movie story.
I don't mean follow that path and go to Asia again and become a better human being. I mean, is he going to be sent packing? As in, I don't care how good you are. I don't care how talented you are. It's just not worth the headache. We can't trust you. Your teammates don't like you. Upper management doesn't like you. Your coaches can't coach you. You're just somebody that can't be contained, and we never know what you're going to say because you're so unpredictable. Go find a new job. They've already tried to trade him. Nobody wants him. Andrew, nobody wants him.
I could only think of I don't know, these volatile relationships that people have where it's both parties are a little bit off. Like Kyrie's off, but the whole Nets organization is just weird. Top to bottom, the people they bring in. So I have no predictions. I just said that this is never going to work.
It's a circus.
It's a circus. You need leadership. Leadership, you can't win without leadership. Durant's not a leader. Kyrie's not a leader. Simmons isn't a leader. Harden's not a leader. These are not leadership people, and they've never displayed leadership qualities. So asking them to do that would be asking them to do something that they've never done. And that's
their 4 best players over the past, 2 or 3 years or whatever. KD, Flake, not a leader. Great basketball player, historically great, not a leader. Ben Simmons, I don't need to say anymore. James Harden, not a leader. not really theoretically a winner either. And then Kyrie Irving. I mean, what do you expect when your best players are the people that, the other players on that team are going to look up to? What do you expect? And then you look at guys like Steph Curry. And you look at guys like Giannis. I mean, they're doing everything right on and off the court. I mean, what do you expect? I mean, what do you expect from an organization,
Let's talk about the Warriors. So we're 25 minutes in. I mean, I think there's some people that are like, hey, relax, it's 10 games. Other people that are like, hold up. This is a big problem. Where are you on that spectrum?
I'm right in the middle. I'm monitoring the situation. And here's why. I don't think Draymond Green is, the old Draymond Green. I think he's a career 8-8-8 guy. I think now he's a 6-6-6 guy, maybe, whatever. I don't think he's an elite defender. So he's had a pretty relevant, noticeable drop off. Klay Thompson's the real issue. And again, I don't want to be too disparaging to a guy who's coming back from an ACL and an Achilles. But the talk this year was, well, you're going to have a healthier, better Klay than we saw last year in the playoffs. And we haven't. That's the big deal. And then,
a drop off in Draymond's game, a drop off or not, the improvement that we thought we would see from Klay, from getting him from 60% back to 90, he's still around 70.
Yeah, he's a regret. I think it's a regression from what we saw last year. And then the real issue is everybody is like, damn, not only is this the best, deepest team in the West, they've got youth, they've got a foundation, a core with Moody, Kuminga, Wiseman, and Poole. They're going to just hit the reset button and run it back and do this again. And I don't know exactly what's going on. I know Wiseman's defensive numbers are disgustingly bad, which we thought he was the one that was going to plug that hole defensively because Looney can't protect the rim. Draymond's a midget. He can't protect the rim. Good positional defender, but he doesn't block shots. And they didn't have that, and they still won a title. And now you add a 7'1", relatively athletic, gigantic human being to protect the rim and be a rim-running big. Basically, you're drastically improving that Kevon Looney 5 position. Wiseman hadn't done it. That's what surprises me the most. Something's going on with Jordan Poole, which we can talk about if you want. Something's going on with Jordan Poole.
Let me give you guys some stats, some data. I was listening to the JJ Redick podcast. If you guys want to go and listen, it's like an 8-minute show. They were talking about the Warriors. So the best two offenses in the league are the Mavs and the Celtics, which is like about 116, 117 points per 100 possessions. So 1.16 points per possession is kind of how they do the math on offense these days. With their starting lineup of the Warriors, they're at 129 points per 100 possessions. The starting lineup: Wiggins, Curry, Klay, Dre, and Kevon Looney.
Okay.
As soon as Steph goes off, they drop 25 points. And when it's the bench units, they are the worst offense at 100 points per 100 possessions in the entire league.
And look, here's the deal. I'll be the first one to admit it. If you said who's got the best bench in the NBA, the Warriors. That's what I said before the first game started. I thought they were the deepest team in the league. I thought they had the best bench talent in the league. They were young. Yes, they're young. But Jordan Poole's, we thought he was going to be Steph Curry light, right? Steph Curry, not 2.0 because there may never be another one. But, I mean, dude, the guy led the league in free throw percentage last year over Steph. He shot a really high percentage from three on high volume. I really thought we were going to get a huge step forward from Jordan Poole this year. And again, I don't own any of his cards. I don't own any Steph cards. In fact, I don't own any Warriors card. Let's put it that way. So I'm not this big Warriors homer, but I call it like I see it. As a Bucks fan, the Warriors are the team that worried me the most. And, that was kind of the dilemma is like, I think the Warriors are going to be the biggest problem because they've got Wiseman this year and they didn't last year. Like I thought the Bucks would have run through the Warriors last year because the Bucks are one of those teams that they put you into the rim. And if you can't stop them from putting you into the rim, then you're just not going to beat them. And I didn't think the Warriors could stop them last year. And then, of course, Middleton not being there, we know the rest. The Celtics won the series and all that crap. But Poole this year is, I think, one of the biggest issues here because if Klay's down, that means Poole needs to step up and Poole needs to be the man. So Poole's first, let's see, let me get this straight. Poole was shooting 45% in October. He's shooting 29% from the field in November in his last 5 games. He only played 22 minutes last night and took 4 shots. He only had 2 fouls, so it's not a foul trouble issue. He's never in foul trouble in the last 5 games. He's scored 9, 11, 20, and 2 in his last 4 games. He's shooting 20.8% from three-point range. And we're talking about somebody who's probably one of the 10 best shooters in the league.
Yeah, for sure.
Is that fair?
Kerr's even said that.
Yeah. Guess what he is from the free throw line? This is the guy that shot over 90%, led the NBA in free throw shooting last year. He's shooting 73% from the free throw line, Andrew. Something's happening. I know he got the bag, and everybody's going to be like, well, he got paid. He doesn't give a shit. He got paid. I don't know, man. I don't know. That's a big drop off.
I have a few theories. So obviously we could never know what's going on in the Warriors organization, right? You played professional or high-level sports, right?
Not professional, yes. Well, professional is high level. I played small college baseball and basketball, yes.
Do you remember when there's a new recruiting class and they almost kind of bond within themselves and they become like a small little niche community outside the vets? And then it becomes kind of the vets and the young guys hanging out. And there's this weird division between the two. I'm worried. I don't know, but I've seen this play out. We had it a little different, so it's probably exaggerated because we had one coach for 2 years. He retired. He was like a legend at the school. And then a new coach came in and a new coach with this new recruiting class. But the old guys are still there. And it's this really sensitive time where the older guys have to almost open up the arms and be extra proactive to bring the new guys in so that cliques don't form. Because cliques are the worst thing for a team. Now you layer on Draymond almost knocking out one of the young guys. And there's like this little bit of fracture. And I remember this Boy Meets World episode where Mr. Feeney said,
what? You don't just
Boy Meets World episode.
You just say that on this is good. This is going live to like thousands of people. You're just gonna say
show. That was my 90s show, Boy Meets World.
Last week you were watching Boy Meets World, and then you're just gonna like segue with that and act like that's okay.
So Mr. Feeney goes to Sean and Corey and he shows them a piece of canvas and he's like, look how strong this canvas is. But then he cuts it just a little bit at the top and then he shows how easy it rips. And I wonder if that little bit was the kind of the canvas ripping. And that's
I think the Draymond punch square into Poole's face was a manifestation of the problem. I think that was the end result of Poole don't give a shit about Draymond Green. Poole knows he's better than Draymond Green ever was right now. Again, you can have a comment. You comment below if Draymond Green is better than Jordan Poole. What I'm saying is Jordan Poole thinks he's better than Draymond Green has ever been at basketball a single day in his life. Let's put it that way. And that's probably not going to sit well with a bad MFer like Draymond Green. And that's what manifested into that. And then you throw in the contract situation. Poole's digging into Draymond Green and digging him and teasing him. And, you know, he's going to get the money. And, dude, as a grown man, if a kid gives me shit about my finances and my contract and needles me when he should be respecting me, whether you believe Draymond Green's, you know, the guy or not, you got to show respect. And, you know, maybe Jordan Poole deserved to be punched straight in his teeth. I don't know. I don't know exactly what it said.
My hunch is that Jordan Poole's also sort of the leader of the young guys.
Agreed. Yeah, no question.
To all the other guys, like, dude, we're not just like relinquishing what we've built because you new guys have come in. Yeah. We built this. We took this team from no money to, you know, no valuation, no wins, like the laughing stock of the NBA, and we built the dynasty. Like, have some respect.
Yeah, I think Jordan Poole, Kuminga, Wiseman, and Moody. And I guess I don't think for them, but I think they may think it's easier than it is. I think they may think that, all right, Draymond's old, Clay's old, Steph's still obviously legendary, but it's time. And I think Kerr may be saying, you know what, it's not time because y'all can't guard shit.
Right.
And then so there's this disconnect between coach and young core. There's a disconnect between veteran core and young core. And while the talent of those 4 guys is undeniable, and I think they are capable of being good NBA players, I don't think I don't know. This is just my observation from a third party is that they're not maybe giving that older core the respect they deserve outside of maybe Steph. So
you remember so why do we love Jordan? I think we love Jordan and why we fell in love even more through The Last Dance is because we saw adversity and overcoming it. So if you remember the last season of The Last Dance, they were dealing with a ton of adversity. Yeah. and they overcame and won that championship. I see some parallels to that. I really do, because we look at this adversity and in the moment it feels huge. But we also, in America, and I think in sports, I'd love to see teams overcome that adversity and see greatness shine like Steph did last night. 0 turnovers, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, 47 points on what kind of shooting?
Virtuoso performance, I called it. I mean, truly one of, a legendary game amongst hundreds of legendary games that guy's had. He's special.
I think this is a season where we really see the greatness of Steph.
Yeah. We better. Okay, so they're 4-7. All right, we're 11 games into the season. It's about a little bit. That's about 1/10, right? That's about 1/10. No. What am I doing? It's about 1/7 of the season, something like that. Well, 7.5, whatever. How many games do they win?
I don't think it matters with a team like this because they're obviously going to make the playoffs. They're not going to miss the playoffs. So they're not going to miss the playoffs, Brian.
Well, hold on. The top 6 make the playoffs. There's 6 really good teams in the West, and they could definitely not be in the top 6, and anything can happen in a little 2-game tournament deal, right? So let's relax with that. Let's not say they're definitely making it. They need to figure this. They need to figure this shit out. If we're 30 games into this and they're 12-18, dude, you better start. That top 6 is over. If you're 12-18 after 30, you ain't making top 6.
Easily, they're gonna make the playoffs. It's not gonna be an issue. I mean, barring injury.
I'm in observe, let's wait and see mode. Let's observe this for the next 10 games and see how this plays out. I think something's going to come out in the next week or 2 having to do with Draymond and Poole, or Kerr and Poole, or Kerr and Wiseman. You can't just sit guys on the bench that are that talented. Something is going on in the locker room that we're not privy to. Something is happening for this team to be this disjointed when they've got such a track record of being, a close-knit, good chemistry, good, beautiful basketball, right? If you said who plays the most beautiful basketball in the NBA, the answer is the Bucks or the Warriors.
Yeah, but dude, I'll just flip it and say it could be equally overreaction because they just took a huge road trip down to Florida. It's never easy to play in Miami. It's a huge party area. People love going out. It's never easy playing in Florida, and not your first road trip with this whole Warrior team that's going to be a little bit hungover after the championship. And I think it's overreaction. I think they're easily making the playoffs, and no one wants to beat them.
Yeah, it's 11 games. I think they're just as likely to finish top 6 as they are to finish in the play-in. I'll say that, which means anything can happen. You got to just be careful. That play-in's no joke, man. I mean, you want to face LeBron in one game, a winner-take-all game. LeBron and AD in a winner-take-all game.
I think that'll be a fun game to watch.
I think it'll be a great game to watch. That's why I love the play-in. I never thought I would, but I do. All right, I got more stuff. Enough on the Warriors. Are you panicking on Kawhi Leonard?
Yes, this is actually one of mine. I think this is not panicking. I thought about this. This is all I'm going to say. This is, in my opinion, the final hurrah for Kawhi. It's not going to be like a guillotine he's done playing. I think this is his final season. I think we're going to see as much as we see from Kawhi, and he's out of the league in 2 or 3 years. And I'll explain why. The thing that keeps these players in the league is money, right? It's money.
Well, it's not money. I mean,
it's money.
LeBron's not playing basketball for money. Do you know how much more money LeBron gets from endorsements? And by the way, do you know how much he has? The extra $40 million doesn't mean shit to LeBron, dude.
Right. He gets the $40 million because he's still playing. He gets the endorsements because he's still playing. He's still in it. Kawhi's one of those guys that probably spends like $3 a year. So he's the richest of all of the players, is my point. So
what's he spend his money on? What does he spend money on? What do you mean Kawhi? Good luck figuring that dude out. I mean, we know Kyrie Irving bought like a Lord of the Rings wizard outfit, right? And a bunch of incense and maybe a samurai sword or something weird like that. What is Kawhi spending his money on? What does Kawhi do?
He probably gets like a new shirt once a year. He has a truck and he just chills at home with his buddies. He's probably the richest of all the NBA players.
What buddies?
His cost of living is like zero. So my point is, he's never struck me as someone who was going to have a long career. I thought he was going to like call it quits.
You're sure? You think? Well, in the last 24 hours they announced he's now out indefinitely. He's out indefinitely. He's 16 months off that partial ACL tear. That's That's not a good sign. 16 months off an ACL. I mean, Jamal Murray's what, about 16 months? Maybe a little bit more. He looks fine now. I know there was some concern at first. I think we've certainly seen the best of Kawhi. And I said it before the season, I'm sick of people talking about the Clippers being the most talented team and all this crap. It's not. They're not. They're just not. Even with Kawhi, they're not. Especially if Kawhi is not Kawhi. And I think we may never see it again, Andrew, which is kind of
talented in a game. One game, if they're all of them are playing and clicking, anything can happen. But there's no way you could bet on consistency from this team.
Agreed. Yep. Well, we people have bet on it and they have lost the last few years betting on Clippers consistency. What else? I've got more. I'm going to give you 4 teams.
Go ahead.
You tell me if it's too early to go into full-time Victor Wembanyama tank mode. You ready?
Sure.
The Kings. Try to keep winning or tank?
Winning. They're good. They have a good roster.
The Kings are 3-6. They have the same record basically as the Warriors.
De'Aaron Fox is playing amazing.
De'Aaron Fox is playing really well. Hit a nice game winner. Still needs to learn how to shoot threes. So you think Kings keep playing? Oklahoma City Thunder.
No, I take that back. Kings are nobodies right now.
Kings tank.
Yeah.
Keegan Murray's been a disappointment thus far. I'll say that. Oklahoma City Thunder. Keep playing or tank? They are 4-6, so they're better than the Warriors. Half game up on the Warriors. They are in 11th. Remember, 10th is play-in. 7, 8, 9, 10 is play-in. 1 through 6 is you're in the playoffs. OKC is in 11th at 4-6, and they've been kind of treading water without Giddey. They were 4-3, and they've lost 3 in a row. Tank or keep trying to win if you're Oklahoma City Thunder?
They have to build the winning culture, man. You have to learn how to win before you get all the assets.
I'm with you. How about this? Okay, think about this. Chet Holmgren looks like one of the freakiest human beings that's ever walked the face of the earth, right? Now put Victor Wembanyama next to Chet Holmgren. That's like 15 feet at the wing position. How weird would that be? 15 feet and about 205 pounds combined.
I think Chet is going to be one of the biggest busts in NBA history. I think SGA and Wembanyama will have flashes. Don't kill me here, of Penny and Shaq if that happens. That's a really interesting duo of really tough to stop those two guys. And I want them to start winning now. So if they get Victor, they're a playoff team and a dangerous team right off the get. And Victor gets the love and the attention he deserves so he doesn't come into a rebuild and messes with his head. That's a good team. If you add Victor and Chet is gone or sitting on the bench, that's a dangerous team.
I think Chet's a lot better than you think. I don't think there's any chance he could be a bust because he's just too relevant defensively. He's just too relevant. The kid's really, really coordinated. He's going to be a pretty good NBA pro. Again, assuming
cards out on the defensive end. I was not impressed offensively, but I mean, I could be wrong with this.
It's hard. He weighs 105 pounds, soaking wet. It's tough. The Spurs.
So we know what the Spurs are doing. I mean, Pop has made it clear. Pop's ready to retire, and they're tanking.
Okay. Because they started hot, and obviously they've significantly cooled off. They're 5-6, so they're a half game ahead of the Thunder. They've lost 4 in a row, though. They were 5-2, right? And when everybody was like, oh, my God, the Spurs and the Jazz, what's going on? I was like, well, the Spurs, I can promise you this shit ain't going to keep up. And I still think the Jazz is smoke and mirrors. So I am still, I said it the last time we did this. I think the Jazz was smoke and mirrors. The Jazz are leading the West. They are 9-3, and they have won 3 in a row. And my pick for one of the most improved players in the NBA, Lauri Markkanen, is the reason. And they seem to really, really like each other, to be honest with you. I know it sounds corny in a league where talent always, wins in the long run, but those guys really, I watch them on League Pass. They really, because I got Markkanen on my fantasy team, and I got Kelly Olynyk on my fantasy team. So just watching those guys, they really seem to like each other. So the last team, tank or don't tank is Charlotte Hornets. Keep trying to win or tank City?
They got to blow it up, man. They got no direction.
Who's the next most valuable player in the Charlotte Hornets franchise? The next best player is Rozier or Hayward, but who's the next most valuable player in that franchise behind, obviously, LaMelo Ball, who is a huge foundational piece? LaMelo Ball is very good. I think he's special. I think he's a really, really special NBA player. If you top 5 point guard in the NBA one day type player in the NBA. Absolutely. Go look at his numbers, dude.
Oh man, you're
Go
such
look
a
at his
numbers
numbers.
guy.
He's also can be a very, very good defender in the NBA one day. You'll see.
No, this
He's
team,
a baby.
This team is garbage. This team will not do very much. I think
No,
Hayward and Rozier need to go. If I was the Lakers have no assets. That's the issue. Hayward should go. Hayward would be a really good fit for the Lakers. Culture guy, good.
Yeah. This trade actually works. There's a trade that works, and again, I'm not an expert on contracts and cap and all this crap, but there was a trade that was rumored where the Hornets would take on Westbrook, and Hayward and Rozier would both be Lakers. If you put Hayward and Rozier on the Lakers and took Westbrook off, they become a very, very relevant team in the West immediately. True or false?
You get two for the price of one. Rozier could do everything Westbrook can at 80% maybe, and off the bench. And Hayward would be a really nice addition next to LeBron.
Great fit, I think. Hayward would be a really good fit. Yeah, I think the Lakers become relevant. We'll say that.
A guy that doesn't need much of the spotlight, that doesn't draw attention away from LeBron. He's going to get his 15 any night, and if LeBron wants to rest, he could go for 25.
Yeah,
Hayward is that. He's a Kevin Love.
Yeah,
LeBron needs a Kevin Love, a guy that doesn't take attention away from
Hayward is not the same player, but you're right. Yeah, personality-wise, what he needs, what he brings, Hayward is very similar to Kevin Love in that way, in that it's never a problem. People like to play with him. He's a pretty good NBA player still,
Just to touch on the Jazz, if you guys want to see what I think leadership is look at Mike Conley and how you rally a team together so quickly. A team of throwaways. And anywhere Mike Conley's gone in his career, he's beloved as a teammate. He's an amazing leader. He's always been a winner. And this is a guy with not a ton of talent, not a ton of size, height, jumping ability. I like Mike Conley. I've always have.
I like Mike Conley too. He's a pro's pro. And I didn't think he was going to make it in the NBA because I thought he was too tiny. He actually was a pretty good defender in the NBA, during the prime of his career. The Jazz are an interesting case study. Again, just like it's too early to, write off the Heat and the Nets, I think it's probably too early to anoint the Jazz. I personally would still be flabbergasted if they won half their games after 82 games. If you made me bet $10,000 right now over under 41 wins, I'm taking the under. And they've already got 9, but I'm still taking the under.
They're so thin. They're playing 6 guys.
When Marketing gets hurt, they're going to lose 25 in a row.
Yeah, that's the way they're going to go through a losing streak, not because
that's the way I look at it. Plus, they have a GM who's played this game before, and he loves draft picks and he loves to make draft selections. I have to believe Danny Ainge is screaming cuss words into his pillow every single night when the horn goes off and they've won another game. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? We'll see. Okay, my next area of concern. We're at 47 minutes, so we got a little bit of time still. And this might be my last point that I've got just on the top of my head. I'm concerned about Luka Doncic. Let me tell you why I'm concerned. Anybody who's ever listened to my channel or listened to me on your channel knows how I feel about Luka Doncic. I think he's a transcendent prospect. I think he's the best prospect we've seen since the year 2003, and maybe the best I've seen in my lifetime. No, well, not including Jordan, right? I was a little bitty kid then. But I think Luka Doncic is a special player. There's 2 players that are in the NBA right now, not named LeBron, who I think could one day be top 10 players of all time. That means supplanting a Kobe Bryant or a Tim Duncan or a Magic or a Bird or a Steph, have a chance to be those players depending on the hardware. It is Luka Doncic and Giannis. Those are the 2 players, okay? So I am very high on Luka Doncic. Here's my concern with Luka Doncic. He is being ridden into the ground by Jason Kidd. He has got the ball too much. There's too much responsibility. There's too much weight put on him. His usage rate, and a usage rate for those of you watching that don't know, it's an estimate of the percentage of team plays used by a single player while he was on the floor. Okay, so let me give you a couple statistics. The highest usage rate last year in the NBA. Do you want to guess who it was?
Tell me.
Luka Doncic. 37.3. That is an insanely high usage rate. Embiid was next, but that's a different type of usage rate, right? Because Embiid doesn't bring the ball up the floor. Embiid doesn't have someone guarding him 80 feet every single time.
He just gets it in the post, and he has slow post moves.
You get in the post, you catch it, you touch it, you make decisions, you turn it over, you pass it, you shoot it. That's it, right? It's a very different when your usage rate is your big guy. Giannis' usage rate last year was 34.6. Trae Young was the next closest point guard type at 34.4. That's a normal high usage rate for a guard. Doncic was 37.3 last year. The highest usage rate in the history of NBA basketball was Russell. And again, this is like post merger. So I don't know about Wilt and all those guys, but is Russell Westbrook 41.5 in 2016 and 17. All right. So I think that was post Durant, right? And where Westbrook's like, F you, watch this. Right. So we remember those seasons, right? When he was averaging triple doubles 3 seasons in a row. Harden is next. Going back to our guy Harden, as we talked about, he had like 50,000 more dribbles of the basketball than any other player. That was in 2018. The next highest usage rate in the history of professional basketball is this season's Luka Doncic. 39.1, and before last game, it was over 40. I don't know if that's sustainable.
Can we break down this, right? Like jumping, dunking, and putting your body through a lot of, let's call it dangerous scenarios, is different usage than how Luka plays. Luka doesn't really play a hugely physical game. He doesn't even really sprint that much. He's very under control.
I would say from moving from A to B as fast as possible, he's not in my top 300 in the NBA, okay? But from how much contact is absorbed by a player in the NBA, Giannis and Doncic, those are the two. If you watch a Dallas Mavericks game, someone is touching Doncic at all times. Someone has always got their hands on him. They're checking the dude. He's ushering the ball up the floor like Magic Johnson used to do by turning his back and just dribble, spin, dribble between the legs, change directions. He's got to usher the ball up the floor with contact. Every time they get in the half court, even in the screen and rolls, there's contact. Anytime he tries to take somebody off the dribble, he never blows by anybody. He's always getting shoulders on them. It's a bevy of fakes, footwork, skill moves, up and unders, head fakes and stuff like that. And he's a freaking genius. I'm not saying that. I just worry that this contact that people have with him is going to add up. I just think it's going to add up. And I don't know. I'm maybe not worried that he's going to break down this year, but year after year after year of usage rates like that is going to be a problem. And here's why I say that.
Unknown. It's an unknown.
Yeah.
I'll give you guys an example from soccer. We used to say this about Messi because if you guys watch Messi, no one's ever played like Messi. No one made like Messi. No one got the ball as much as Messi. He would come back into like the defense and get the ball and have to play make. And he had an incredibly long career for a soccer player. He's still playing at a very high level. Mm-hmm. How do you explain that, right? How do you explain longevity? We don't know every one of these habits. We don't know what they're eating. We don't know what their nutrition and who could have predicted that LeBron would have had the longevity he had. But that is greatness, right? Like it's not just about your talent. It's how well you take care of yourself and the best abilities availability. It's an unknown. We'll never know until we're looking backwards.
Do you get the impression that Luka Doncic takes care of his body like LeBron James?
I don't think it's fair to judge a book by its cover because you wouldn't think that Messi does either.
I do.
Oh, okay.
I think you know the answer to that question.
You think he does?
I don't think – are you crazy? How about they just take their shirt off and look at him? Who do you think takes care of their body better?
That's an immature way to look at stuff because you could say that about Messi and he's taking care of his body and he was never injured and he's not like looking like LeBron.
Well, nobody in soccer looks like LeBron, dude. When Messi takes his shirt off, Messi is shredded. He's shredded, man.
It's actually a really good comparison. You take a moment to realize Ronaldo, you see that he takes care of his body because he's a weightlifter.
Sure.
But Messi also has. It just because he's not shredded doesn't mean he's not doing the right things. Everyone has a different body. And the goal is not to get shredded. The goal is to keep yourself from getting injured. And yes, being strong helps. Luka's incredibly strong, and just because we don't see it, I wouldn't discount it, is my point.
Oh, Luka's incredibly strong, ridiculously strong. If you hear other NBA players, his peers and his opponents talk about him, I mean, they already talk about him with great reverence as far as physicality, and you just don't understand. The guy's 6'8", almost 240. He's
He
six,
looks
seven and a
bigger
half,
than that to me.
6'7" and a half, 240. Well, 240 is pretty damn big. I mean, I don't know how big NFL linebackers are, but he's
But
one.
I'm 220, man.
Well, yeah, but you're a different 220. No offense. You're not 6'8".
Exactly. There's my point.
Yeah. So I don't know. That just worries me. It's just something to keep an eye on. I mean, his season last season was a top 10 highest usage rate ever. This season is the highest usage rate ever. Only Giannis has ever had 2 usage rates over 37 in one career. He's the only player in history that's had 2 usage rates over 37. And I get the impression Doncic is going to be over 37, maybe over 40 every single year for the rest of his life until they get somebody else who can dribble the ball a little bit. You know, Brunson's gone. Who'd they replace Brunson with? Christian Wood. Christian Wood's not a ball handler.
This is a pipe dream, right? But this is the thought I had. We got to see the best winning LeBron. Yeah, you could say Bosh and Wade, but in my opinion, Ray Allen is what made LeBron. Ray Allen, a Hall of Fame consistent shooter from 3. Yeah. And if we could see Clay on this Mavs team with Luka, I would be really interested. I would love to see a Clay type of player, a spot-up shooter that Luka can trust to make these big shots. And I know Dorian Finney-Smith, he's a good shooter, but he became a good shooter. Right? Yeah. He's not a Hall of Fame type of shooter. You surround Luka with one of those guys, I'm really interested because now you stretch the court, and now Luka has more space. That was when I think we'll see the best Mavs team is when we find that one shooter for Luka.
Yeah, I think that, well, Dinwiddie is that secondary ball handler right now, and I just don't know if he can take enough of the load. He's a good player, don't get me wrong, but I don't know if he could take enough of that load off of Luka. You need that elite shooter. You want that elite shooter at the shooting guard position, but you also want him to be a creator as well. I don't know. I guess you're asking for a better second fiddle to Luka, which everybody is. I mean, Christian Wood might be the worst second best player on an NBA team out of all 30 teams.
Yeah, I was never in the Christian Wood camp.
I mean, think about the worst teams in the NBA. I guess maybe if you don't think Jalen Green's better than Christian Wood, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you're thinking of the worst teams in the NBA, like, would you rather have Markkanen or Christian Wood?
I think Tim Hardaway is the second best player on that team.
No, he's not in the top 7. He's fallen off drastically. And he just got hurt. Yeah, he's really fallen off. Yeah. Best player, that's the problem. Hey, who's the second best player on the Mavericks? If you don't know the answer, well, then you got it.
That's the problem.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? Who's the best and the second best player on the Lakers? They're terrible. They're not a great example, but yeah, go through every single NBA team, and the answer is usually pretty obvious, right? Or it's either I don't know because second and third are both so damn good. You got to choose. Whereas on the Mavericks, it's like I don't know. There's like 6 guys that are all the same. I mean, you thought it was Tim Hardaway for God's sakes. That means there's nobody that stands out. Right? A lot of people would say Dinwiddie. Some people would say Christian Wood. Overall, as a player, I might say Dorian Finney-Smith because I watched that guy live last week. Dorian Finney-Smith's a damn good defender, and he does knock down open threes. So I don't know. I just want to see more. I'm watching Luka, and it reminds me of those shitty Cavs teams when LeBron had to do everything, and we got to see peak, insane, amazing LeBron, but you just kind of knew Sasha Pavlovich and Verjao and
Zydrunas Ilgauskas.
Big Z was his second best player, right?
Yeah.
When you saw stuff like that, you're like, it's just not enough.
LeBron got Big Z an All-Star appearance, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Big Z was good, man. He had foot injuries early in his career, derailed him a little bit, but he was really good. He was kind of like Jonas Valanciunas, right? He had a great career. Valanciunas has had a great career, just never a top 5 center in the league kind of guy. So,
if you guys love the show, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. We'll be back probably next week.
Yeah. Next week. I'm ready. Anything else? Anything else we forgot about?
If we did, we'll wrap them tomorrow. We'll wrap them next week. There's so many teams. There's so much stuff happening. We can't go through it all.
Pick your finals right now if you had to pick based on the 10 or 11 games.
Prediction stuff.
Yeah, pick it right now. Pick it right now.
I'm not doing the prediction stuff.
We'll do it every week.
No,
we'll do it every week and we'll see if it changes. Are the Warriors in the finals for you?
I'm not changing my prediction week to week. I'm not like that. That's not
what's
the
your
game.
Prediction? What was your prediction?
Warriors Bucks.
Okay, that was my prediction. Warriors Bucks. I kind of want to change half of that. I'll let you figure out which half. Thanks for watching, guys. Keep collecting. Stay positive in the hobby. Go drink your green iced coffee and have a great day.